In a quiet corner of the world where rolling hills met dense forests, a group of scientists gathered in a modest laboratory. The air was thick with both anticipation and uncertainty as they prepared for an experiment that would push the boundaries of conventional science. Their idea was simple on paper but profoundly unsettling in practice: to place a camera inside a coffin and record what happened after burial. This wasn't born out of morbid curiosity, but rather a genuine desire to understand the processes that unfolded in the aftermath of death. The team consisted of physicists, biologists, engineers, and even a psychologist, each bringing their expertise to the table. They wanted to document changes in temperature, humidity, pressure, and any other environmental factors that might occur underground. But deep down there was also a hope, or perhaps a fear, that they might capture something unexpected, something that could challenge everything they thought they knew about life and death. The initial stages of the project were filled with meticulous planning. Every detail had to be considered carefully because failure was not an option. The camera itself was specially designed for this task, a high-definition device capable of recording in complete darkness, encased in a waterproof shell to withstand the damp conditions underground. Its battery was engineered to last for several weeks without interruption, ensuring that no moment would go unrecorded. The coffin, too, was custom-built, reinforced to house the sensitive equipment while maintaining the integrity of its structure. Sensors were embedded throughout the interior to monitor every possible variable: temperature fluctuations, moisture levels, and even subtle shifts in air pressure. These readings would later be cross-referenced with the footage captured by the camera. As the technical preparations neared completion, the team faced another daunting challenge: finding someone willing to allow such an experiment to take place with their deceased loved one. Approaching grieving families was by far the most difficult part of the project. It required immense sensitivity and respect, as well as a clear explanation of the purpose behind the study. The scientists approached several families, sharing their vision of contributing to scientific knowledge and understanding. Many declined immediately, understandably unwilling to subject their departed family member to such an unconventional procedure. However, one family eventually agreed, a couple who had recently lost their elderly grandmother. She had been a woman of great curiosity herself during her lifetime, always eager to learn new things, so the family felt she would have approved of being part of such an endeavor. Still, agreeing to the experiment weighed heavily on them. On the day of the burial, the atmosphere was somber, yet charged with a strange sense of purpose. The coffin, now sealed with the camera and sensors safely inside, was lowered into the ground. The researchers stood silently, watching as dirt covered the casket, their minds racing with questions about what they might discover. Weeks passed, and the waiting period proved to be excruciating for the team. Each day felt like an eternity, as they wondered whether the equipment had functioned properly, or if the entire effort had been in vain. Finally, the appointed time arrived to exhume the coffin. The process was delicate, requiring careful excavation to avoid damaging the equipment inside. When the coffin was finally opened, the tension in the air was palpable. The scientists worked methodically, removing the camera and transferring its data onto a computer system back at the lab. The first few minutes of footage showed nothing unusual, just the stillness of the confined space illuminated faintly by the infrared lens. Then, suddenly, something extraordinary appeared on the screen. Intermittent flashes of light began to flicker across the frame, almost as though tiny stars were twinkling in the darkness. At first, the team assumed it was some kind of malfunction caused by moisture seeping into the camera or pressure changes distorting the lens. But upon closer inspection, these lights didn't behave like random glitches. They seemed to follow a rhythm, pulsating softly in patterns that defied easy explanation. The discovery sent shockwaves through the research team. What could possibly cause such a phenomenon? Desperate for answers, they turned to experts in various fields, hoping to make sense of what they had witnessed. Biologists suggested that bioluminescent bacteria might be responsible, thriving in the nutrient-rich environment created by decomposition. Physicists speculated that chemical reactions between the decaying body and the materials inside the coffin could produce light under certain conditions. Others proposed more radical theories, including the possibility that the lights represented some form of energy release associated with the breakdown of organic matter at a molecular level. None of these explanations fully accounted for the rhythmic nature of the flashes, which seemed almost intentional, as though they carried meaning beyond mere physical processes. The debate grew heated within the team, with some members leaning toward natural causes while others entertained the idea that they might have stumbled upon evidence of something far more profound, perhaps even a glimpse into the mysteries of consciousness and the afterlife. As news of the experiment leaked to the public, the story quickly gained traction, sparking widespread fascination and controversy. Media outlets dubbed it the Coffin Lights mystery, drawing comparisons to paranormal phenomena and supernatural tales. People around the world became captivated by the possibility that death might hold secrets beyond human comprehension. Religious groups saw the lights as proof of the soul's journey, interpreting them as divine signs or spiritual manifestations. Skeptics, however, accused the researchers of fabricating results or misinterpreting ordinary occurrences for the sake of attention. Amidst the chaos, the team remained steadfast in their commitment to uncovering the truth. They conducted additional experiments, placing cameras in multiple coffins across different locations, each yielding similar results. Despite mounting pressure from critics and supporters alike, they refused to rush to conclusions, insisting that further investigation was necessary before any definitive claims could be made. For them, the lights were not just a mystery to solve, but a reminder of how much there is still to learn about the universe and ourselves. The months that followed were a whirlwind of activity for the researchers. They pored over every second of footage, analyzing the data alongside their colleagues in related fields. Their findings were eventually published in a prestigious scientific journal, detailing every aspect of the experiment in painstaking detail. While they stopped short of offering a concrete explanation for the lights, they presented compelling arguments for why further research was essential. The publication ignited a global conversation, inspiring debates about the limits of human knowledge and the ethical implications of studying death so intimately. For the scientists involved, the experience was transformative. They had embarked on this journey hoping to document mundane processes, only to uncover something far greater, a reminder that the universe is full of mysteries waiting to be unraveled. And though the lights themselves remained unexplained, they served as a powerful symbol of humanity's enduring quest for understanding, even when faced with the unknown. The discovery of the mysterious lights inside the coffin left the team with more questions than answers. Each member of the group brought their own perspective to the table, and the discussions often stretched late into the night. Some researchers clung to logical explanations, poring over graphs and charts in search of patterns that might align with known scientific principles. Others couldn't shake the feeling that they were witnessing something beyond the realm of current understanding. The flickering lights, rhythmic and almost deliberate in nature, seemed to defy easy categorization. Was it possible that the decomposition process released some form of energy previously undocumented? Or could it be that the human body, even in death, held secrets waiting to be uncovered? These questions gnawed at the edges of their minds, driving them to dig deeper into their findings. To test their theories, the team decided to expand the scope of the experiment. They obtained permission from 2 additional families who had recently lost loved ones, ensuring that the coffins were equipped with the same advanced cameras and sensors as before. This time, however, they chose burial sites in different environments. One in a dry, arid region and another in a humid, marshy area. The goal was to see if environmental factors played a role in the appearance of the lights. As the coffins were lowered into the ground, the scientists felt a mix of hope and trepidation. Would the results confirm their earlier observations, or would they uncover something entirely new? The waiting period was agonizing, but they knew patience was key. Every day that passed brought them closer to unraveling the mystery, though none of them could have predicted just how profound the next revelations would be. When the second set of coffins was exhumed, the anticipation among the team reached a fever pitch. Back in the lab, they carefully extracted the cameras and began reviewing the footage. To their astonishment, the lights appeared again. But this time, they were markedly different. In the dry, arid location, the flashes were sparse and faint, barely registering on the camera's lens. In contrast, the coffin buried in the humid marshland displayed bursts of light that were brighter and more frequent, almost overwhelming in their intensity. The differences between the two environments suggested that moisture levels played a significant role in the phenomenon. But what exactly was happening beneath the surface? The team hypothesized that microorganisms thriving in the damp soil might be contributing to the light emissions, possibly through bioluminescence or other chemical reactions, yet the rhythmic pulsations persisted across all three experiments, hinting at something far more complex than simple biological activity. As the researchers delved further into their analysis, they began to consider alternative explanations. Could the lights be linked to electrical activity within the body itself? After all, the human brain generates measurable electrical signals during life, so it wasn't entirely implausible that residual energy might linger after death. One scientist proposed the idea that the decomposition process could trigger microscopic electrical discharges, creating brief flashes of light visible only under specific conditions. Another suggested that gases released during decay might interact with metals or other materials in the coffin, producing luminescent effects. While these theories offered potential pathways for investigation, none fully accounted for the eerie consistency of the patterns observed in the footage. The team found themselves caught between two worlds, the tangible realm of science and the intangible mysteries of existence. It was a place where logic met wonder, and neither side seemed willing to yield. Public interest in the project continued to grow, fueled by media coverage and online speculation. Social media platforms buzzed with theories ranging from the plausible to the outlandish. Some users claimed the lights were evidence of spiritual energy, while others dismissed the entire experiment as an elaborate hoax. Religious leaders weighed in, interpreting the phenomenon as proof of divine intervention or the soul's transition to the afterlife. Meanwhile, skeptics demanded transparency, accusing the researchers of manipulating data to fit their narrative. The team struggled to navigate the storm of opinions, knowing that releasing incomplete information could undermine their credibility. At the same time, they understood the importance of engaging with the public, especially given the ethical implications of studying death so intimately. Balancing scientific rigor with societal expectations became a delicate dance, one that tested their resolve at every turn. Amidst the chaos, the researchers remained focused on their ultimate goal: uncovering the truth. They collaborated with experts in fields as diverse as quantum physics, microbiology, and anthropology, hoping to piece together a comprehensive explanation. One particularly intriguing avenue of inquiry involved exploring the concept of bioelectricity and its potential connection to the lights. Could the human body, even in death, retain traces of electrical activity that manifested as light? Another line of investigation examined the role of fungi and bacteria, which are known to thrive in decomposing organic matter. Certain species of fungi emit light as part of their metabolic processes, raising the possibility that similar organisms might be responsible for the flashes captured on camera. While promising, these leads required extensive testing and validation, leaving the team no closer to a definitive answer. Despite the challenges, the project had a profound impact on everyone involved. For many, it forced them to confront their own beliefs about life, death, and the unknown. The psychologist on the team noted a shift in the group's dynamic over time. They had started as colleagues united by a shared mission, but had grown into something resembling a family bound by mutual respect and curiosity. Even those who initially approached the experiment with skepticism found themselves humbled by the complexity of the natural world. There were moments of frustration, certainly, when progress seemed stalled or when external pressures threatened to derail their efforts. But there were also moments of awe when the sheer magnitude of what they were attempting struck them with full force. They were standing on the edge of human knowledge, peering into the abyss of the unknown, and it was both terrifying and exhilarating. The decision to publish their findings came after months of deliberation. The team knew they risked criticism from both the scientific community and the general public, but they believed transparency was essential. Their paper, submitted to a leading journal, detailed every aspect of the experiment, from the initial planning stages to the final analysis of the data. They acknowledged the limitations of their study and called for further research to explore the phenomenon in greater depth. The publication sparked a wave of responses, ranging from praise for their courage to accusations of pseudoscience. Yet amidst the noise, one thing became clear. The experiment had ignited a global conversation about the boundaries of human understanding. People everywhere were reminded that science is not just about answering questions, it's about asking them, even when the answers remain elusive. For the researchers, the journey was far from over. Though they hadn't solved the mystery of the Coffin lights, they had taken the first step toward unraveling it. The experience left them with a renewed sense of purpose and a deeper appreciation for the wonders of the universe. They realized that sometimes the greatest discoveries come not from finding answers, but from embracing the questions themselves. And as they packed up their equipment and prepared to move on to the next project, they couldn't help but feel a quiet sense of gratitude for the opportunity to explore the unknown, for the families who had trusted them with their loved ones' final resting places, and for the endless possibilities that lay ahead. Whatever the future held, they knew one thing for certain. The pursuit of knowledge was a journey without end, and they were honored to be part of it. The aftermath of publishing their findings brought a whirlwind of reactions that the team hadn't entirely anticipated. While some praised their courage and dedication to advancing human understanding, others dismissed their work as pseudoscience or outright fabrication. The media played a significant role in amplifying both sides of the debate, with sensational headlines dominating news outlets worldwide. Some articles portrayed the scientists as pioneers on the brink of a groundbreaking discovery, while others labeled them as reckless individuals tampering with forces beyond comprehension. Emails and messages flooded their inboxes, some offering support, others hurling accusations. Amidst the chaos, the researchers found themselves grappling with a mix of pride and frustration. They had set out to document physical phenomena, yet their work had sparked conversations about spirituality, morality, and the very nature of existence. It was overwhelming, but also deeply humbling. One particularly heated discussion arose within academic circles. Critics argued that the study lacked sufficient controls and reproducibility, two cornerstones of scientific research. How could anyone be sure the lights weren't caused by equipment malfunctions or external interference? To address these concerns, the team decided to conduct another round of experiments, this time incorporating stricter protocols. They partnered with independent laboratories to verify their methods and results, ensuring transparency at every step. Cameras were upgraded to include multiple lenses and enhanced sensors capable of detecting even the faintest glimmers. Coffins were designed with additional safeguards to rule out contamination from moisture or soil particles. The burial sites were chosen based on meticulous criteria, ranging from soil composition to proximity to urban areas. Every detail was scrutinized, leaving no room for doubt, or so they hoped. As preparations for the new phase of the experiment got underway, tensions within the team began to surface. Months of relentless work, coupled with mounting pressure from outside sources, had taken a toll on everyone. Some members questioned whether continuing down this path was worth it. Wasn't it possible that they were chasing shadows, investing time and resources into something that might never yield concrete answers? Others countered that giving up now would mean abandoning not just their project, but also the families who had entrusted them with such a sensitive task. These debates often spilled over into late-night meetings where voices rose and tempers flared. Yet despite their differences, there was an unspoken bond holding them together, a shared commitment to uncovering the truth, no matter how elusive it seemed. When the coffins were finally buried, the atmosphere was markedly different from previous attempts. Gone was the initial excitement. Instead, a sense of solemn determination hung over the group. Each member understood the stakes involved, not only for their careers, but also for the broader implications of their work. As weeks passed, the waiting period felt longer than ever before. Every day dragged by, filled with restless anticipation and quiet reflection. Some researchers threw themselves into analyzing data from earlier experiments, searching for overlooked patterns or connections. Others sought solace in personal hobbies or long walks through the countryside surrounding the lab. Despite their efforts to stay busy, the question lingered in the back of their minds. What would they find this time? Finally, the moment arrived to exhume the coffins. The process was painstakingly slow, with each step executed with precision to avoid damaging the delicate equipment inside. Once the cameras were safely transported back to the lab, the team gathered around the computer screens, holding their breath as the footage began to play. At first glance, the results appeared consistent with previous findings. The familiar flickering lights danced across the screen, pulsating rhythmically in the darkness. But then came something unexpected. In one of the recordings, faint shapes began to emerge alongside the lights. They were indistinct at first, almost like shadows shifting in the background. As the team rewound and replayed the clip multiple times, they realized these shapes seemed to move in tandem with the flashes, forming patterns that resembled waves or ripples spreading outward. It was unlike anything they had seen before. The discovery sent shockwaves through the group. What were these shapes? Were they artifacts created by the camera's lens, distortions caused by environmental factors, or something else entirely? The team immediately reached out to imaging specialists and experts in optics, hoping to determine whether the phenomenon could be explained by technical issues. After thorough analysis, the consensus was clear. The shapes were not the result of faulty equipment. This revelation left the researchers grappling with a host of new questions. Could the lights and shapes represent some form of energy interaction occurring during decomposition? Or did they hint at processes far more complex, perhaps even tied to consciousness itself? The psychologist on the team suggested that the human mind might perceive meaning in randomness, projecting patterns onto ambiguous stimuli. But even she couldn't deny the eerie synchronicity between the lights and the shapes, which defied easy dismissal. Public reaction to the updated findings was explosive. News outlets seized on the story, dubbing it the Coffin Enigma and speculating wildly about its implications. Online forums buzzed with theories, ranging from plausible explanations involving chemical reactions to fantastical notions of interdimensional portals opening in the grave. Religious groups interpreted the shapes as symbols of divine communication, while skeptics accused the team of manipulating footage to generate publicity. Caught in the crossfire, the researchers struggled to maintain their focus. They knew that addressing every critique individually would be impossible, so they resolved to let the science speak for itself. By releasing raw footage and detailed methodologies, they invited scrutiny from peers and the public alike, confident that their integrity would withstand the test of time. Behind closed doors, however, the emotional weight of the project became increasingly apparent. Sleepless nights and endless discussions took their toll, leaving many team members physically and mentally exhausted. One evening, during a rare break from work, they gathered in the lab's small kitchen to share a meal. Conversations turned introspective as they reflected on what the experiment meant to them personally. For some, it reinforced their belief in the power of curiosity and the importance of pushing boundaries, even when faced with uncertainty. For others, it raised profound existential questions about mortality and the legacy we leave behind. There were moments of laughter, too, as they recalled humorous mishaps from earlier phases of the project. These lighter moments served as a reminder that, despite everything, they were still human beings navigating an extraordinary journey together. Determined to make sense of the latest findings, the team embarked on a series of interdisciplinary collaborations. They consulted physicists specializing in quantum mechanics, microbiologists studying bioluminescent organisms, and anthropologists exploring cultural interpretations of death rituals. Each conversation added layers of complexity to their understanding, challenging preconceived notions and opening doors to fresh perspectives. One particularly intriguing theory posited that the lights and shapes might result from microbial activity, interacting with electromagnetic fields generated during decomposition. Another suggested that the phenomenon could be linked to piezoelectric effects, where pressure on certain materials produces electrical charges. While none of these ideas provided a definitive explanation, they collectively painted a picture of interconnected systems operating beneath the surface, systems that demanded further exploration. As months turned into years, the project evolved into something greater than any of them had imagined. What began as a straightforward investigation into post-burial environmental changes had transformed into a multifaceted inquiry into the mysteries of life and death. Along the way, the researchers discovered not only new insights about the natural world, but also about themselves. They learned to embrace uncertainty, to value collaboration over competition, and to recognize the beauty in unanswered questions. Though the lights remained an enigma, they served as a powerful reminder of humanity's enduring quest for knowledge. And as the team prepared to embark on their next venture, they carried with them a profound appreciation for the unknown, a reminder that sometimes the greatest discoveries lie not in finding answers, but in daring to ask the right questions. The ripple effects of the Coffin experiments continued to spread far beyond the confines of the laboratory. What had started as a niche scientific endeavor now dominated global conversations, sparking debates that transcended disciplines and cultures. Philosophers pondered whether the lights and shapes represented metaphysical phenomena, while environmental scientists speculated about their ecological significance. Even artists found inspiration in the imagery, creating works that captured the haunting beauty of the flickering patterns. For the team of researchers, this widespread attention was both exhilarating and exhausting. While they were grateful for the opportunity to engage with diverse perspectives, the sheer volume of opinions often felt overwhelming. Every new theory or critique seemed to pull them in different directions, forcing them to constantly defend their methods and motives. One particularly challenging aspect of the project was managing the expectations of the public. Many people wanted definitive answers, clear explanations that would neatly resolve the mystery once and for all. But science rarely worked that way, especially when dealing with phenomena as complex and enigmatic as the Coffin lights. The researchers knew better than anyone that uncovering the truth required patience, perseverance, and an open mind. Yet the pressure to deliver results was immense. Funding agencies began questioning whether continued investment in the project was justified, given its lack of tangible outcomes. Some members of the team worried that their work might be shut down prematurely, cutting off a line of inquiry that could lead to groundbreaking discoveries. To address these concerns, they organized public lectures and workshops, aiming to foster a deeper understanding of the scientific process and the importance of long-term research. In the midst of this turmoil, the team made a decision that would shape the future of their work. They invited independent researchers to join their efforts. By opening up the project to outside collaborators, they hoped to bring fresh insights and expertise to the table. This move proved transformative, as it allowed them to explore angles they hadn't considered before. For instance, one physicist proposed examining the role of geomagnetic fields in the phenomenon, suggesting that fluctuations in Earth's magnetic field might influence the behavior of decomposing materials. Another expert in biochemistry hypothesized that enzymes released during decomposition could interact with minerals in the soil, producing luminescent reactions. These ideas added new dimensions to their investigation, broadening the scope of possibilities and reigniting their sense of purpose. The inclusion of external collaborators also brought unexpected challenges. Coordinating such a large and diverse group of scientists required meticulous planning and communication. Differences in methodology and interpretation sometimes led to heated disagreements, testing the team's ability to maintain cohesion. There were moments when frustrations boiled over, with some members accusing others of prioritizing personal agendas over collective progress. Despite these tensions, the shared goal of unraveling the mystery kept everyone grounded. They reminded themselves that science thrived on debate and dissent, and that differing viewpoints were essential for pushing boundaries. Slowly but surely, they learned to navigate their differences, finding common ground in their commitment to discovery. As the collaborative effort gained momentum, the researchers turned their attention to refining their experimental techniques. They designed a new generation of cameras equipped with advanced spectral imaging capabilities, allowing them to capture light across a broader range of wavelengths. This innovation opened up exciting possibilities, as it enabled them to detect forms of radiation invisible to the naked eye. Additionally, they incorporated AI-driven algorithms to analyze the footage, identifying subtle patterns and correlations that might have eluded human observers. These technological advancements marked a significant leap forward, providing tools that could potentially unlock the secrets hidden within the data. The first batch of results using the upgraded equipment yielded intriguing findings. Not only did the lights appear more vivid and dynamic than ever before, but the accompanying shapes now exhibited intricate details that defied easy explanation. In some recordings, the shapes seemed to form recognizable structures, spirals, loops, and even what looked like rudimentary symbols. The team debated whether these formations were random occurrences or signs of underlying order. Could they be artifacts of chemical reactions, or did they hint at something more profound? One researcher suggested that the patterns might represent emergent properties arising from complex interactions between biological, chemical, and physical processes. Another posited that the shapes could be visual manifestations of energy transformations occurring during decomposition. Whatever the case, the complexity of the phenomenon underscored just how much remained unknown. Public fascination with the project reached new heights as images of the mysterious patterns began circulating online. Social media platforms buzzed with speculation as users attempted to decode the meaning behind the shapes. Some interpreted them as ancient symbols or messages from beyond the grave, while others dismissed them as mere optical illusions. Conspiracy theories proliferated, with some claiming that the experiment had inadvertently tapped into a hidden dimension or alternate reality. Amidst the noise, the researchers struggled to strike a balance between transparency and caution. They released select clips and analyses to satisfy public curiosity, while withholding raw data to prevent misinterpretation. Their cautious approach earned praise from some quarters, but drew criticism from others who accused them of withholding information for self-serving reasons. Despite the backlash, the team remained steadfast in their mission. They understood that their work held profound implications, not just for science but for humanity's understanding of life and death. Each new discovery reinforced the notion that death was not an endpoint, but a transition, a phase where matter and energy continued to transform in ways we barely comprehended. This realization resonated deeply with many members of the team, prompting them to reflect on their own mortality. Conversations around the lab grew increasingly philosophical, touching on topics like legacy, memory, and the interconnectedness of all living things. These discussions fostered a sense of camaraderie, reminding everyone that they were part of something larger than themselves. Behind the scenes, the logistics of running such an ambitious project became increasingly demanding. Traveling to remote burial sites, coordinating with international partners, and securing funding were just a few of the hurdles they faced daily. Burnout became a real concern, as many team members juggled multiple responsibilities without adequate rest. To combat this, they implemented measures to ensure everyone's well-being, including mandatory breaks and counseling sessions. These initiatives helped alleviate some of the stress, though the emotional toll of working on such a high-stakes project never fully dissipated. Still, there were moments of joy and triumph that made the hard work worthwhile. Celebrating small victories, like successfully calibrating a new sensor or receiving positive feedback from a peer reviewer, provided much-needed motivation to keep going. As the project entered its fourth year, the researchers began to notice shifts in their perspective. What had once been a quest for answers had evolved into a journey of exploration, driven by curiosity rather than certainty. They no longer viewed the Coffin lights as a puzzle to solve, but as a gateway to understanding the complexities of existence. This shift in mindset allowed them to embrace ambiguity, recognizing that some questions might never have clear-cut solutions. Instead of fearing the unknown, they came to appreciate its infinite possibilities. It was a humbling yet liberating realization, one that reminded them why they had chosen careers in science in the first place. The culmination of their efforts came when they published a comprehensive report detailing every aspect of their findings thus far. The document spanned hundreds of pages featuring detailed analyses, visualizations, and recommendations for future research. While it didn't provide a definitive explanation for the lights and shapes, it laid the groundwork for continued investigation, offering a roadmap for others to follow. The publication received widespread acclaim, hailed as a landmark contribution to interdisciplinary science. Critics who had once dismissed the project as speculative now acknowledged its value, praising the team's rigor and dedication. For the researchers, this validation was deeply gratifying, affirming their belief in the power of collaboration and perseverance. Looking back on their journey, the team couldn't help but marvel at how much they had grown, not just professionally, but personally. They had embarked on this path seeking knowledge, but along the way they had discovered something equally valuable: a renewed sense of wonder. The Coffin lights, with all their mystery and allure, had taught them to see the world through eyes unclouded by preconceptions. They had learned to cherish the act of questioning itself, knowing that true wisdom lay not in having all the answers, but in embracing the endless pursuit of understanding. And as they prepared to tackle their next challenge, they carried with them the lessons of the past, a testament to the enduring spirit of inquiry that drives humanity ever forward. The journey of the Coffin Lights experiment had evolved into something far greater than its initial scope, transforming not only the lives of the researchers but also the way people thought about life, death, and the mysteries that lie in between. The publication of their comprehensive report marked a turning point, a moment when the project shifted from being an isolated scientific endeavor to becoming a global phenomenon. Universities around the world began incorporating the findings into their curricula, sparking discussions in classrooms ranging from biology to philosophy. Documentaries were produced, capturing the essence of the team's work and sharing it with audiences who might never have encountered such abstract concepts otherwise. Yet despite the accolades and recognition, the researchers knew they were still at the beginning of something much larger. The lights and shapes remained as enigmatic as ever, refusing to yield their secrets easily. As interest in the project continued to grow, so did the number of individuals eager to contribute. Families who had lost loved ones volunteered to participate, seeing the experiment as a way to honor the deceased by contributing to humanity's collective knowledge. Each new burial added layers of data, enriching the pool of information available for analysis. However, this influx of participants also brought ethical dilemmas that forced the team to confront difficult questions. How could they ensure that the family's emotional well-being was prioritized while maintaining the integrity of the research? What responsibilities did they have to those who entrusted them with such deeply personal matters? These concerns weighed heavily on the researchers, prompting them to establish stricter guidelines for engagement. They worked closely with grief counselors and ethicists to create protocols that balanced sensitivity with scientific rigor, ensuring that every step forward was taken with care and respect. One particularly poignant case involved a young woman named Elena, whose family agreed to include her coffin in the study after she passed away unexpectedly. Her parents described her as someone who had always been fascinated by science and the unknown, making her participation feel like a fitting tribute. When the footage from Elena's coffin was reviewed, the team noticed something unusual. The lights appeared brighter and more vibrant than in previous recordings, almost as though they carried an intensity that defied explanation. Additionally, the accompanying shapes formed intricate patterns resembling constellations, stars connected by delicate lines. Whether this observation held any significance or was merely coincidental, no one could say for sure, but it left the researchers reflecting on the idea that perhaps each individual contributed something unique to the phenomenon, leaving behind traces of themselves even after death. This notion, that the lights might somehow reflect aspects of the person buried, sparked widespread speculation among both the public and the scientific community. Some suggested that the phenomenon could be linked to DNA, proposing that genetic material might influence the chemical reactions occurring during decomposition. Others explored the possibility that memories stored within neural pathways could manifest as energy signatures detectable through advanced imaging techniques. While these ideas pushed the boundaries of conventional thinking, they resonated with many who saw beauty in the idea of continuity beyond mortality. For the researchers, however, the challenge lay in separating fact from fiction, grounding their hypotheses in evidence rather than emotion. It was a delicate balance, one that required constant vigilance. Meanwhile, technological advancements played a crucial role in propelling the project forward. Collaborations with tech companies led to the development of cutting-edge equipment capable of capturing data at unprecedented levels of detail. Cameras now featured multispectral sensors that could detect wavelengths invisible to the human eye, revealing dimensions of the phenomenon previously hidden from view. Machine learning algorithms processed vast amounts of footage, identifying subtle trends and anomalies that would have been impossible to spot manually. This fusion of traditional scientific methods with modern technology opened up exciting new avenues for exploration, allowing the team to delve deeper into the mystery than ever before. Yet even with these tools at their disposal, the researchers often found themselves humbled by the complexity of what they were studying. Public fascination with the project showed no signs of waning. Social media campaigns encouraged users to share their thoughts and interpretations, creating a virtual community united by curiosity and wonder. Artists drew inspiration from the imagery, crafting paintings, sculptures, and digital art pieces that captured the ethereal quality of the lights and shapes. Writers penned stories and poems inspired by the experiment, imagining worlds where the boundary between life and death blurred seamlessly. Religious leaders incorporated the findings into sermons, framing the lights as symbols of hope and transcendence. Skeptics, too, remained vocal, challenging the validity of the results and urging caution against drawing hasty conclusions. Amidst this cacophony of voices, the researchers maintained their focus, using the feedback to refine their approach and address gaps in their methodology. Internally, the team faced its own set of challenges. Years of relentless dedication had taken a toll, leaving some members feeling burnt out and questioning whether they were making meaningful progress. The pressure to deliver definitive answers loomed large, especially as funding bodies grew increasingly impatient for tangible outcomes. To combat these feelings of stagnation, the team implemented strategies to foster creativity and collaboration. Brainstorming sessions became opportunities to explore unconventional ideas, no matter how far-fetched they seemed. Guest lectures from experts in unrelated fields introduced fresh perspectives, encouraging the researchers to think outside the box. These initiatives rekindled a sense of excitement, reminding everyone why they had embarked on this journey in the first place. Amidst the chaos, moments of clarity emerged. One evening, during a rare break from work, several team members gathered on the roof of the lab to watch the sunset. As twilight descended, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, someone remarked how similar the colors looked to the spectral patterns captured in the Coffin footage. The comment sparked laughter, breaking the tension that had built up over weeks of grueling analysis. In that fleeting moment, they realized that their pursuit wasn't just about solving a mystery, it was about appreciating the beauty of discovery itself. The lights, with all their ambiguity, symbolized the infinite possibilities inherent in the universe. They reminded the researchers that sometimes the act of asking questions was more important than finding answers. As the project entered its 5th year, the team decided to take a bold step. They would attempt to replicate the phenomenon under controlled conditions above ground. By isolating variables such as temperature, humidity, and soil composition, they hoped to identify specific factors contributing to the lights and shapes. This decision required significant resources and planning, as well as approval from oversight committees concerned about potential risks. Despite these hurdles, the researchers pressed on, driven by a desire to push the boundaries of their understanding. Initial trials yielded mixed results, with some setups producing faint glimmers while others failed entirely. Yet even partial successes provided valuable insights, paving the way for further refinements. Through trial and error, the team began to piece together fragments of a larger puzzle, Certain combinations of organic materials and environmental conditions consistently generated light emissions, suggesting that microbial activity played a key role. However, the rhythmic pulsations and intricate shapes hinted at processes far more complex than simple bioluminescence. Could it be that multiple mechanisms worked in tandem, creating a symphony of interactions that defied easy categorization? These questions kept the researchers motivated, fueling their determination to uncover the underlying principles governing the phenomenon. With each breakthrough, they moved closer to unraveling the mystery, though they knew full well that complete understanding might remain elusive. Looking ahead, the researchers recognized that their work represented only the tip of the iceberg. The Coffin lights were part of a broader tapestry of unanswered questions about existence, consciousness, and the natural world. Their findings had already inspired countless others to embark on their own journeys of exploration, whether in laboratories, classrooms, or living rooms. For the team, this ripple effect was perhaps the most rewarding aspect of their efforts. They had set out to document physical phenomena, but in doing so, they had ignited a spark of curiosity that transcended borders and disciplines. And as they prepared to tackle the next phase of their investigation, they carried with them a profound appreciation for the unknown, a reminder that the pursuit of knowledge was not just a profession, but a calling, one that bound humanity together in a shared quest for meaning. As the Coffin Lights project entered its 6th year, the researchers found themselves at a crossroads. The phenomenon they had been studying remained as elusive as ever, yet it had become clear that their work was about far more than just solving a mystery. It had sparked conversations, inspired creativity, and challenged perceptions across the globe. The lights and shapes flickering faintly in the darkness of burial chambers had come to symbolize humanity's enduring quest for understanding, a reminder that even in the face of uncertainty, there is beauty in the act of seeking. For the team, this realization brought both clarity and resolve. They knew they might never fully unravel the secrets of the lights, but the journey itself had transformed them in ways they could not have anticipated. One of the most profound shifts came when the researchers began to view their work through a broader lens. No longer were they solely focused on physical or chemical explanations. Instead, they started considering the philosophical implications of their findings. What did it mean to study something so deeply intertwined with life and death? How did the act of observing decomposition, of bearing witness to the transformation of matter, affect their own perspectives on mortality? These questions led to introspective discussions among the team members, who shared stories of how the project had influenced their personal lives. One researcher admitted that she had grown closer to her family after realizing how fleeting life truly was. Another spoke of a newfound appreciation for the interconnectedness of all living things, seeing parallels between the microbial ecosystems in the soil and human communities above ground. These reflections reminded them that science was not just an intellectual pursuit, but also an emotional one, shaped by the people who dedicated their lives to it. The controlled experiments conducted above ground yielded promising results, though they raised as many questions as they answered. By isolating variables such as temperature, humidity, and microbial activity, the team was able to identify specific conditions that consistently produced light emissions. Certain combinations of organic materials, particularly those rich in nitrogen and phosphorus, seemed to generate brighter and more rhythmic flashes. Yet the intricate shapes observed in earlier recordings proved harder to replicate, suggesting that factors beyond simple chemistry were at play. Could it be that the presence of a human body introduced unique variables? Perhaps electromagnetic fields generated by decaying tissues or subtle interactions between microorganisms and bodily fluids? These possibilities fueled further experimentation, pushing the boundaries of what they thought possible. To explore these ideas, the team collaborated with experts in fields as diverse as quantum physics and neurobiology. Together, they designed experiments aimed at detecting energy signatures associated with decomposition. Advanced sensors capable of measuring minute fluctuations in electromagnetic radiation were deployed alongside traditional equipment, capturing data that hinted at previously undocumented phenomena. In some cases, the readings suggested the presence of weak electric currents flowing through the soil surrounding the coffins. While these currents were too faint to explain the visible lights entirely, they added another layer of complexity to the puzzle. The researchers speculated that perhaps the human body, even in death, retained traces of bioelectric activity that interacted with its environment in unexpected ways. This hypothesis opened up exciting new avenues for investigation, bridging the gap between biology and physics. Public interest in the project continued to grow, reaching audiences far beyond academic circles. Schools incorporated the Coffin lights into lesson plans, encouraging students to think critically about the relationship between science and philosophy. Artists created immersive installations that recreated the eerie glow of the lights, inviting viewers to step inside and contemplate their significance. Religious leaders used the phenomenon as a metaphor for spiritual awakening, while skeptics saw it as a call to examine the limits of human knowledge. Social media platforms buzzed with theories and interpretations, creating a global dialogue that transcended cultural and linguistic barriers. The researchers embraced this diversity of perspectives, recognizing that their work belonged not just to them but to everyone touched by its implications. Despite the widespread acclaim, the DO team faced mounting pressure to deliver conclusive results. Funding agencies grew increasingly impatient, questioning whether the project warranted continued investment without tangible outcomes. Critics argued that the lack of definitive answers undermined the validity of their methods, urging them to focus on practical applications rather than abstract inquiries. Internally, tensions simmered as some members pushed for a more pragmatic approach, while others insisted on preserving the exploratory spirit that had defined their efforts from the start. To navigate these challenges, the researchers held a series of meetings aimed at redefining their goals. They agreed to prioritize transparency, sharing raw data and methodologies with the public to foster trust and accountability. At the same time, they reaffirmed their commitment to pursuing fundamental questions, knowing that true breakthroughs often required patience and perseverance. Amidst the chaos, moments of serendipity kept the team motivated. One day, while analyzing footage from a recent burial, they noticed something extraordinary. The lights appeared to synchronize with external environmental changes, such as rainfall or shifts in barometric pressure. This discovery suggested that the phenomenon was not isolated, but intimately connected to the world around it. Could it be that the lights served as indicators of ecological processes occurring beneath the surface? If so, they might hold untapped potential for monitoring soil health, tracking microbial activity, or even predicting natural disasters. These possibilities excited the researchers, offering a glimpse of how their work could benefit society in practical ways. Yet they resisted the urge to rush toward applications, choosing instead to let the science unfold naturally. As the project neared its 7th year, the researchers reflected on how much they had learned, not just about the Coffin lights but about themselves and their place in the universe. They had started as scientists driven by curiosity, but along the way, they had become storytellers, philosophers, and advocates for wonder. Their work had taught them to embrace ambiguity, to see beauty in unanswered questions, and to recognize the interconnectedness of all things. Each recording, each analysis, and each debate had deepened their appreciation for the complexity of existence. And though the lights remained a mystery, they stood as a testament to the power of collective effort and the resilience of the human spirit. In the final stages of the project, the team decided to compile their findings into a comprehensive documentary. Unlike previous publications which targeted academic audiences, this film would be accessible to anyone curious about the phenomenon. Through interviews, animations, and stunning visuals, it captured the essence of their journey, the highs and lows, the triumphs and frustrations, the moments of awe and humility. The documentary premiered at an international science festival, drawing applause from attendees who marveled at the passion and dedication evident in every frame. It went on to win awards, cementing the project's legacy as a beacon of interdisciplinary exploration and human ingenuity. Looking back on their odyssey, the researchers felt a profound sense of gratitude for the families who had trusted them, for the collaborators who had enriched their work, and for the countless individuals who had joined them in pondering the mysteries of life and death. They understood that their contribution was not the answer itself, but the spark it had ignited, inspiring others to ask bold questions and seek out connections where none seemed to exist. As they closed the chapter on the Coffin Lights experiment, they carried with them a renewed sense of purpose. The unknown still stretched before them, vast and infinite. But they were no longer afraid, for they had learned that the greatest discoveries are not those that provide certainty, but those that remind us of the boundless possibilities waiting to be uncovered. And so, with hearts full of wonder, they turned their gaze to the horizon, ready to embark on whatever adventure lay ahead.